What did you guys find was the most surprising challenge that you were pitted against that you just didn't expect?
For me, it was trying to like stop myself from constantly indulging in all the delicious food that was in Korea because otherwise I would not be able to fit into my costumes anymore. That was the
Yeah.
hardest part for me.
Good. Well, hello. My name is Russ Milheim from the Direct. Thank you both for talking to me today about the show.
Hi,
Hey,
Russ.
it's nice to meet you.
Is that
Nice to meet
Venom
you
you
as
have
well.
out there on your right? Venom and Spider-Man?
Yep. I got
Right
Perabo
on.
down here. Yeah.
All right. Are you
Very
excited for
cool.
the new Spider-Man?
I am. I am. It's been hitting the news recently. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, no, the Destin Cretton. It's gonna be good.
Now, I have seen the first six, or no, I've seen all six episodes of the show, and you guys are awesome in it. So
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thanks.
Thanks.
My first question is just that, David and Rebecca share a very complicated father-daughter relationship. Can you both talk about how that dynamic helps sets this particular spy thriller apart from the rest? But for both of you, yeah, whoever wants to go first.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Well, I actually think that's one of the things that makes me most interested in this story. Like we've seen a lot of action shows, or you have your macho leading man or leading woman nowadays, which is even better. But a lot of the shows, the relationships and the plot are just a little thin, and they're excuses to get from action sequence to action sequence. But I think the father-daughter relationship really grounds our show into something real, quote unquote. And the fact that it's a relationship drama makes me lean in a little bit more than if it was just action. But I love action too. So in this show, you get a little of both.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be honest, like, that's what drew me to the project from the beginning. And when I first saw the show, I was like, oh, wait, this is also an action show. Like, I was so invested in the family dynamic part of it because it's such a rich, deep, complex story that the action for me, at least, like, kind of went into the background of like, all right, we have to like do a bunch of movement today.
Yeah. Daniel, while I have a moment, I want to squeeze in a quick question about you're an Avatar as well, which is
Hmm.
really exciting. Season two isn't out yet, but season three is in production. A storyline that sees your character get a bigger spotlight than ever before. How's it been? How has it been for you being able to film that final chapter and bring that story to life against Team Avatar?
It's been a lot of fun, and that's a weird thing to say about my character because he's the furthest thing from fun that I've ever played. He's actually very heavy, but the environment on set is really light. The actors do their work, and the cast and crew stay really pleasant with one another. So. It's been nice to be a part of. It's also good because I'm just acting in
Yeah.
that show. I'm not producing it, so every once in a while when something goes wrong, I can just step away and say that's above my pay grade.
Not my
And
problem. Do you think we'll be able to see season two or beginning of next year, or are we going to wait longer?
It's a good question. I'm not in the programming department, so I can't answer
That's
that.
fair.
But yeah, I would imagine it would be sometime next year.
Now, jumping back to Butterfly for both of you guys, David has been playing Dead for 9 years, and Rebecca has been an assassin. Can you tease how both of those personas and kind of lives they led will start to break down and evolve as they re-enter each other's lives and orbits?
Well, I feel like for Rebecca, for 9 years, she's been shutting down this part of herself that feels the pain. Because, even before, I believe when Rebecca was around 8 is when her mother died. So she's orphaned at this point. And I think that the reason why she goes so deeply into being this like ruthless assassin is because she doesn't want to feel anything. So she kind of siphons off her feelings. And then when he comes back in, that dam is burst. And that's a really interesting dynamic to get to play and to get to see as the show unfolds.
You?
Yeah, I feel like that damage is kind of the source of everything, and that's what allows the show to mushroom out into like a larger story about, betrayal, about trust, Can you repair a relationship between a father and a daughter? And also the regrets that parents might have toward their children about decisions they've made in the past that have hurt them, whether they realize it at the time or not.
Last question for both of you guys. Just throughout this whole process, what did you guys find was the most surprising challenge that you were pitted against that you just didn't expect?
For me, it was trying to like stop myself from constantly indulging in all the delicious food that was in Korea because otherwise I would not be able to fit into my costumes anymore. That was the
Yeah,
hardest part for me.
I can imagine the struggle.
Yeah.
For me, I think going back to the Avatar answer, being a producer on this show meant that there was always work to be done. And even though I wasn't shooting as an actor, I was working. So to not have a typical or a routine schedule of days off was challenging, but worth it.
The show has a heavy focus on interesting parental dynamics. Can you guys both talk about how the two of you almost serve as kind of a unique reflection to David and Rebecca, and then the unique struggles that you both are going through in relation to each other?
I like to see. We were speaking about this last night. I loved the analogy when we were filming of thinking of the characters like ships in the night that are constantly missing opportunities to connect with each other. And I think that's something that many of us can relate to with our own family dynamics. That when you're desperate to have connection with someone in your family, they're not in the place of reciprocating that. And similarly, that then follows a pattern where the reverse is true. And I feel like with our characters, it's a constant reaching and a constant rejection that starts to flip on its head. And that's, as you say, reflected with David and Rebecca as well.
Yeah, we're definitely sort of a modern blended family,
Yeah.
and it only makes the family dynamics more challenging when we're all trying to assassinate each other.
It's true. Uh, Now, Lewis, Oliver is a very loyal to his mom, but there's
Mm.
clearly some doubts brewing, even in that very first episode. How does he feel about what she does, and how does he choose to give those little bits of resistance against her?
Yeah, I think that in another life he would never gravitate towards this line of work. I don't think he's a particularly successful person in this line of work, and I think it's just that Juno occupies such a colossal role in his life that he's there in the first place. So I think naturally, morally, he rubs up against what she does in a very strong way. And I think that he's too scared to overtly challenge her. But he has that sort of, teenage quality of like trying to find moments of rebellion, but ultimately knowing that it's futile.
Piper, when the show starts out, you know, your character has a parental relationship with Rebecca, or so it seems. Do you think she ever viewed her in any way as close as she views her own son, or was that all a farce?
I think Juno holds Rebecca very close, very close. And um, it's different with Oliver because he's biologically my son, but she's my star. She's my star athlete. And so I kind of love them both. Maybe not in the best way you can raise a kid, but they're both like deeply, deeply important to me.
Piper, I do want to ask a very quick unrelated question, and what's the status on a possible covert affairs revival? Can fans hope to one day see
Oh,
that story continue? We're all
that's
wondering.
so nice of you to ask. I don't know. Now that I've done Butterfly and I play a bad guy, I don't know if I can go back to Annie
You can't go
Walker,
back to
but
being that.
I love that show so much and it was so fun to make and I would always say yes to them.
Back to Butterfly, for both of you guys, throughout the whole process of bringing this show to life, what would you say was the most surprising challenge that you guys were put up against that you just didn't expect?
That's a really good
That's a
question.
great
I
question.
think that making a show that is crossing a divide of different cultures is always going to present challenges. And I think to everyone's credit, they navigated those challenges
Mm.
incredibly well. But there are certainly moments of just like cultural dissonance between how, you make a TV show or a film in Korea and how you make a TV show or film in the States. And it was a real points of compromise were needed to be found, and I think they navigated that really well.
I agree. There's a lot of gunplay in the show, gunfighting, and Korea has a really different relationship to handguns than the United States, and so I am very pay a lot of attention when there are guns on set. And in Korea, it's so rare that anyone would carry a gun that they really only think of them as props. And so you can feel that cultural,
Yeah.
that's a place where the cultures are different and really requires our attention.
Now, Piper, for my last question, just with what you were saying during your covert affairs answer, you got to be the villain in this show, and you seem to really love it. So, can you talk more about being able to just open up and just embrace this whole new side and surprise audiences with this new side of you?
It was so fun when Dan called and he said it would be to play the villain. I was so excited. I have so many friends who play villains, and villains have great clarity of purpose and often a lot of power. And it's really fun to execute at that level. I played a lot of underdogs and heroes, and that's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to be the hero. Man, you have so far to go. Whereas the villain is kind of often on the phone or in the car and pushing a button. And I didn't know how much I would like it.
Yeah, but it worked out. Clearly,
Thanks.
you
Thank
loved
you.
it. My first question is, when we meet your character, um, you know, your husband is risking everything for his first daughter who he left behind before he even met you. How does she feel about him risking it all to kind of reunite with her?
어, 사실, 음, 너무 위험하다는 걸 알기 때문에 말리고 싶고, 사실 말리기도 하지만, 그를 막을 수 없다는 걸 너무 잘 알죠. 그리고 데이비드를 사랑하기 때문에, 이해하고 그가 하고 싶은 걸 하게, 놔두려고 이제 하는 굉장히 강하면서도, 현명한 여자라고 생각해요.
Now, I want to also talk about you got to, obviously work with Daniel Day Kim to bring these characters to life. Can you talk about building that on-screen relationship with him, and then also just building a dynamic between you two as actors, off screen?
We talked about our relationship before the story, and we thought about what language David and Unju would use when they talk. David must have been learned a lot of Korean after living in Korea, and Unju would probably improved her English a lot while living with him. So they would mix Korean and English during their conversation, like Daniel and me. Sometimes Daniel, he just speaks in English and I speak in Korean, but we understand each other and have no problem to communicate.
Yeah.
So uh, David and Unju communicate with whichever language that feels more comfortable in that situation. 그런 여러 가지 이제 we are an international couple. 그래서 그런 약간 특정한 상황에서 우리가 어떤 대화를 나누고 어떻게 서로 소통하고 사랑에 빠질 수 있었는지 그런 부분에 있어서 서로 얘기를 많이 했어요. 그래서 그냥 데이비드가 그냥 한국에 도망쳐서 숨어 살다가 이태원 바 같은 데서 같이 뭐 우연히 만나서 뭐 얘기를 하다가 은주는 잠깐 뭐 해외에 뭐 미국에 잠깐 뭐 1년 정도 어학연수를 간 적이 있을 수도 있는데 거기서 이제 대화를 하다가 뭐 미국에서 먹었던 뭐 맛있는 햄버거라든지 이런 공통 화제를 얘기를 하다가 서로 친해졌을 수도 있겠다 이런 비하인드 스토리를 우리끼리 얘기를 많이 했죠.